This coronavirus is bigger than 9/11 or Pearl Harbor or anything we've ever seen before. And on the biggest picture of all, the coronavirus and the financial collapse marks the end of the industrial age and the beginning of the information age. It's a very big move. And the people that are in trouble today are people still stuck in industrial age thoughts. Let me give you an example. The reason London Real and Brian Rose is doing so well is you guys moved on. I moved on. Rich Dad moved on years ago. The people that are having a hard time are called BBC, NBC, CBS, because they're still industrial age and they're going to get crushed. So that's why I'm very happy to talk to you. I love your program. I love your guests because we've moved on. The people that are struggling financially haven't moved on yet. So that is my message. That is your message. It's time to move on. So let me give you my health problems here. I've had pneumonia 3 times. I've had malaria. I've had open heart surgery. I've had cancer. Now, that's the bad news. You know what the good news is? I'm aware I had to become healthier. I don't want some vaccine to protect me. It's my responsibility to protect myself. And that's what you do with all your running and things like this. So that's all it is to me. Now, if you're in trouble today, my message is not so kind. This is hard talk, not happy talk. The crisis is in your head.
What do you mean by the crisis is in their head? Because most people will react very strangely to that statement. They'll say, no, Robert, it's out there, and it's this little virus that's moving around and infecting and killing people, but that's not the way you see it.
Well, the virus is real. The question is, how healthy are you? So I could be a victim right now saying, I have heart disease, diabetes, I'm overweight, I've had pneumonia 3 times, I've had malaria, and all that did was inspire me to be healthier. So I spend a lot of money and time on my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, and my physical health. And the average person goes to their doctor once a year for an annual checkup. That's not health, that's called medicine. So this is my biggest complaint, is that who determines our medicine is the insurance companies, some of the biggest financial institutions in the world. If you think this is a bad time, guess what? You're right, it's bad. But if you think this is possibly the best time for you, you can move forward.
So this is a big wake-up call that we can use to our advantage. And some people could really use this as a vehicle to change, like you said, not just their wealth, their health, their mental habits, all of that, if they choose to engage in it that way. You said to me earlier that this could be a great moment for us as a society, as humanity, if we choose to use it in the right way.
So those of you at home right now who are sitting going, but I'm going to lose my job, my house, my pension, and all this, it's because you're trapped with old thoughts. And as most people know, is that, when I came up with Rich Dad, Poor Dad 20-something years ago, mainstream media crucified me. They said, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, the rich don't work for money. Savers are losers. Your house is not an asset. And I was crucified, just crucified. And the good news is, as several of your guests have said, the most important thing you can have now is not job security, but meaningful work. So you and I don't need the money, but our work is meaningful. And it's our meaningful work that gets us through the hard times. In '83, was we had no financial education in our schools. Why? And my poor dad was a PhD. And the problem with PhDs and academics, as you know, they hide behind this piece of paper called a diploma. It doesn't mean they know anything. So my poor dad and many of the academics running, the Fed and the Treasury and our government are academics hiding behind diplomas, but they don't have a financial statement. You see, Rich Dad had a financial statement, my poor dad had a diploma. They're 2 different pieces of paper symbolizing 2 different states. So a diploma is BS. Mine stands for Bachelor of Science. Whereas a financial statement, as you know, on the corporate level, you cannot lie in a financial because that's fraud. So a financial statement, income, expense, assets, liability, statement of cash flow, which is what Rich Dad Poor Dad's about. If you lie on that, you go to jail. So when I go to my banker and somebody says, well, I can't get a loan, the reason they can't get a loan is because they don't have a financial statement. Your financial statement is your report card. 99% of all kids, and that includes MBAs and all that, leave school not realizing the most important piece of paper is not their diploma, but a financial statement. So you look at the richest people on earth today, they didn't graduate from school. Steve Jobs, all those guys, Henry Ford, Disney, they don't have college degrees. Branson from England. So the financial statement is for real. So that's all this was about. So what was my mission at that point? To bring financial education so simple that the average person could understand it. So I wrote this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was turned down by every publisher in 1997 saying you didn't know what you're talking about. I knew what I was talking about, but the academics don't. And that's the prime problem. We need financial education because the real problem of this crisis started back in 1904 when the richest guys on earth took over the education system in the United States. They formed a thing called the General Education Board. It was formed by guys like Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan. And what they pulled out of education was financial education. And so the reason they could rip us off, as you and I know, is via the mechanism of money. And that's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was a warning shot across the bow back in 1997. I said, wake up, something's coming down the road. So we're here right now. This is the biggest transformation in the history of the world. It's from industrial age to information age. Brian Rose is doing well because you made the transition. I'm doing well because I made the transition. I'm making more money than ever before. I have problems, but I'm making more money than ever before. But if you're losing money right now, the problem starts in what you were taught in school. Because they never taught you anything about money. They never taught you about a financial statement, like my rich dad did. They teach you that diploma is everything. The harder you work for money, the poorer you're gonna get. That's the tragedy. So this is how what Fuller talked about, the prison is inside our head, Buckminster Fuller. It starts with misinformation and misorientation. Misinformation, misorientation. And he says, how dare our schools punish kids for making mistakes? How else do you learn if you don't make a mistake and learn from your mistake?